Hey, hey.
Hello.
How's everybody
Hello
doing?
there, everybody. We're doing okay today.
I think should be doing all right if you're looking at the Ethereum and alts charts.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to my mansion, guys.
It's beautiful. I love it. Did you move to?
I've been in there before. I feel like I've seen this mansion.
This looks like one of those like Mick mansions, maybe in like somewhere in North Carolina. Not to dox your location.
How do you know I'm in North Carolina?
I'm like that guy that, the guy where you can like show him like a yard of a plant and he'll find out where your house is from like anywhere in the world.
The GeoGuessr guy.
Yeah. I just want to say shout out to Benny, Coney 2012. That's right. Oh man. I died
13
laughing.
years, I think Coney still might be getting at it, dude. He still might be out there doing it.
Yeah, that was a fun time. Let's see. Panda says Corval lives for the vibes. Corval's gotten a lot of attention lately.
I feel like I haven't. Whoa, Mew Mew, you changed rooms.
I switched to Berlin instead.
This is her library.
Look, if you guys watch Mew's videos and you take that advice to heart, you too can be living like Mew Mew, switching pads every 30 seconds, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
I have been getting attention lately. It feels good. Feels mixed. It's a mixed bag.
I was about to say, you feel good?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling good.
All right.
I wish this POV surfing video was POV surfing actually, though.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we got a big show today. We got Foxify, which is some perp trading, and they just launched a new thing called Funded. But we have them popping up here in a minute. And we also got Sonic's own Seg coming to speak about Spawn. Been a lot of activity around that. So excited to get into that as well. So we'll just take a look at the chart real quick before we bring Danny up here. I gotta, I enjoy the chance to sing my own praises. You gotta toot your own horn sometimes. I was saying like the last show that I was like, okay, this looks like there's about to be like a big wind up and we're about to have a big move. And luckily the move was up and not down. So everybody rejoice. I think me and Corval were talking before the show that it's probably, if Vitalik's on the other side of the world, he's probably asleep right now. So you probably have about 3 or 4 more hours to enjoy this Ethereum pump.
Yeah, I mean, not financial advice or anything, but I'd be getting in here high leverage fast and then getting out as fast. I wanted to brag a little bit. If you put this on the 5-minute, well, I was bragging. Let this be a moral lesson, guys.
Hold on here. Let's see here. Let me fix the chart real fast. Let me fix this. I can fix it.
You can fix it.
There you go.
The wrong account. I thought I was negative, but I might still be good. Oh yeah.
So we're looking at the 5-minute chart.
Yeah, I'll look at the 5-minute chart here because look, if you see that red bar right before the big spike, dude. Yeah. I bought right there, right before the show. My intuitions, right? But then I was bragging to Drac about it. And I manifested this red dildo here.
Yeah, you better go close your position out.
Yeah, I gotta close this thing out now because I jinxed it.
Yeah, Followed Zone says they are already hovering over the sell button, so you need to get in there.
Yankee points out there's $4.3 billion worth of options expiring on Bitcoin today. Bitcoin ETH today, so it could be choppy.
Yeah, I mean, here's the classic scenario anyway, is like when these things happen, oh my God, when these things happen on Friday, it's always kind of tough because it's like probably the worst thing you could ever do is like leave your position open over the weekend where people just kind of like have their way with like lower liquidity, guaranteed to like get chopped up. But I don't know, man, this could be a big enough reversal that, maybe we're about to march back up to hit another new all-time high.
Yeah, could be. Things seem like they're getting a little bit better.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mentioned we got Danny from Foxify here. Since we got a pretty loaded show today, gonna go ahead and bring him up here. Everybody say hi to Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, we got you, man. Thanks for coming on. You guys have been pretty busy lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here as well. First time on the Sonic ecosystem. Hopefully not the last either. It's it's good to be here, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just gonna kick things off. We always just like to let everyone know what what Foxify is. If you could just kind of give like a brief explainer, like what it is, what it offers, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll give you a quick intro. So we launched. You introduced us as Perpetuals, and we launched Foxify, which was sort of the first version of our Perpetuals platform in 2023. Quickly realized that, there's 200 other platforms out there, and it's very, how much are you really changing the game? It's a tough place to be. And we wanted to look, really wanted to make a difference in the industry. And then we started to understand prop trading. So retail prop trading is where they say, hey, Dracula, pay a few $100 and I'll give you $1 bazillion to trade. You can punch your boss in the face and just live off of trading and be like me. All of that get rich quick terminology. And what prop trading companies do in a nutshell is they sell you this story, but the truth is they're not really placing any trades. Yeah. They go to trading platforms. They buy a SaaS license, like paper trading, basically. And what they do is they give you like a paper trading challenge, like they call it an eval.
Yeah.
So there's no real trading happening. Well, that's a simple question, right? Well, hang on a second. You just told me you're going to make me rich, right? So how am I going to get rich if there's no trading happening? There's no counterparty. And the truth is that their goal is to get as many suckers like you come along and pay that deposit than they pay out to you, which works fine at first because you have 1,000 traders, 990 are terrible. The problem is the 990 run out of money and the 10 that are good stay, right? So now I've got a problem, a big pile of cash from the 990 suckers, but the 10 that are really good start, really doing well and they need cashing out. The problem is there's no real trades. So I have to start paying them out from my pot of money that I got from the suckers. So the only thing I can do now is make it as difficult as possible for them to cash out. I'll deny payouts. I'll change the rules. I'll, come up with all sorts. I'll maybe even some of them just shut down the company and start again, right? Because they want that 990 suckers again.
They all of this shutter it up.
Yeah, all of this is possible because it's Web 2. It's effectively a casino. Now, we all know you go in the casino, you add a few drinks, that place only lives off of people losing, but you pay for the entertainment, right? That when you walk in. But these guys are real shizers because what they do is they tell you that they're there to try and make you money, but they can only survive if you lose, just like a casino. So a few things in Web3 actually is crypto really solving the problem. So we said, you know what, we're going to build an on-chain prop trading business. And we built the V1 of our platform. And we ran that for 9 months, and now we're on to V2, which is a multi-chain, it's only exclusive on Sonic, and we plug into other applications. Traders can deposit funds. We scale up their capital instantly, by the way, and then you're trading against the counterparty on the trading platform. So it means you're instantly funded. It's real cash. We want you to win because if you win, we do better. People who lose disappear. People who win stay. So we want you to be successful. So we will give you training. We're bringing people in for live streams. We'll even let you use bots, hedging. We're even actually shopping around for bots so that you could get automation to trade your challenge because we want to see you win. So that's what Funded is by Foxify, and we're changing the game. We are the only on-chain prop trading app where it's real trading and it's only available on Sonic.
Yeah, I love it, man. I saw a lot of this, especially like last run, especially like people that, they get you in on like penny stocks and stuff that's a little more volatile. And then they start, and the next thing you know, they're saying, oh, yeah, you can do this prop trading and everything. And yeah, like it felt like you would always just hear these stories about like people would always be like talking like, hey, did this one already go under? Like who's doing what, And I think it's like a perfect model to bring on chain because the issues you were talking about before, that most people associate with prop trading, it's because you have that opaque wall, from Web 2 where nobody actually really can see what's going on under the hood.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a perfect thing to bring on chain to, be able to verify. And yeah, I think the model it's interesting because it truly is, you guys truly do benefit from people actually winning. You know what I mean? So it's not.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit? Like, so one, I want to point out, I've been approached by a perp trading platform to sponsor their show, but a traditional perp trading platform, and I refused. So I thought it was too sketchy because he was like really pushing affiliate links. I was like, I don't know. It sounds like. Look, I'm in crypto. I'm familiar with the lambs to the slaughter scheme, you know. So I'm kind of curious, like how. So we've established that like the traditional perp or prop trading firms are like often just like hollow scams, basically, where like no trading is actually being conducted. It's essentially like a Ponzi almost, where like you come in and I'm just paying you off of other people's money.
100%.
How does Foxify work? Like, because if the advantage of a prop trading firm for a lot of people is that like I'm giving you money up front to start trading, how does Foxify do that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And so what we do is we manage drawdown. So drawdown is sort of a limit that you can lose on your account before you lose it. There's another method that they use, actually. Often you'll see drawdown of like 4%, which is just wild, right? So we give you a starting drawdown of 20%. No weird and wonderful rules. You can use any strategy you like. But we protect ourselves on that first level. So once you've proven yourself, we know the risk drops hugely. And we can calculate that risk and then understand the economics of the system, and we take that on board. So the first level is on Pro. You deposit $500, you instantly have $2,500, and you don't have to do anything other than grow your trade for a bit, show that it's not a fluke. You can't do it in one trade. So trade for a bit, earn points for your trading activity, and grow your account. You do that, you get to cash out the $500 you initially deposited. And then we up it to $5,000, and then $7,500, then $10,000.
Wow, that's awesome. How do the payouts work? Like, I'm not keeping all of the profit from my trades, right? Like, you guys have to get some of that. Right? Brilliant
question. And this is the whole thing, like denied payouts. That's the big issue within the industry. Now the problem is that you're trying to get them to pay you from that big pile of suckers' money, right? Which is now they feel like it's their money. The way it works in our system, actually, you have the account. You just have some hard-coded restrictions on that account, i.e., you can't withdraw. You can't withdraw money until you hit target, right? So simple things like that. But actually, once you've met all of the criteria, which is just trade for a bit and hit target, when you click withdraw, you actually pay us 20% of your profit rather than hoping that we're going to pay you the 80%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we fund your account from a vault. You get 2,500 in, you put 500 of it in. And then when you cash out, you send 20% of your profits to us, and the 80% goes directly back to your wallet. You do it yourself. There's no review. There's no human involved. And actually, we do it the right way. You pay us the 20% of the profits that you generated, rather than hoping that we're going to give you 80% of our pot of cash that we've scammed off people.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So this seems to be using like in a very common sense way, kind of setting up like a prop trading firm using smart contracts, right? Like leveraging the actual advantages of these smart contracts by allowing the custody to sit with the person.
Exactly.
Just with rules around it, right?
Yeah, with some rules, right? Obviously the first thing everybody would do is take the money and run away in Web3 if you allowed them, so that you can't do that. But you can see that I will share my screen in a second. We're integrated with Orderly on Sonic. So you're trading a real market up to 100x leverage. You see the funds in your account from the word go. And yeah, like you say, you're depositing from your wallet and you're withdrawing directly to your wallet from a smart contract.
Right on. Yeah, and to control, that's correct. I believe you said it was a 20% drawdown on the first tier, right? And so you're tiering up, like you're leveling up as well, which increases, like a typical prop trading firm, increasing the amount of capital you have access to play with and potential payout.
Exactly. Cool. Exactly. But if you want to use any strategies, if you've got a fantastic strategy, if you use signals, if you want to hedge, look, if you've got the best strategy, come and tell us. We'll automate it and offer it to other people. We are 100% committed to seeing traders succeed. The greatest success in my life would be to see a market maker put out of business by a trader on our platform. It would help me sleep at night.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, I just think it's a perfect thing to have on chain and idea. People just withdraw the funds. You get your 20%. Everybody. It seems like very fair, and everybody wins a little bit. Well, not a little bit, but everybody wins. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love it.
Should I share my screen quickly?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's see this.
Great questions, by the way, Corval. Keep firing, because there's so much behind this, and other people it might be a bit new. So please keep firing questions if you've got them.
Yeah, I wanted to mention. Well, now we got some comments here. Warlock said it's really cool. I'm just bad at trading. Well, I mean, he said that you guys are going to have like some tutorials and stuff. I mean, could learn a little thing or two, huh?
100%. Well, we've got 3 strategies that we've got in testing at the moment, actually, because our ambition is to give people 2 options. They can either trade their own challenge, or they could choose a strategy or a bot to run their challenge for them as well, and then just run it passively. There's always risk in trading, right? Anyone who tells you there's not, run away from them. But yeah, so we're looking for ways that we can try and provide third-party tools which will allow people that are less confident trading to then just choose a product off the shelf and get that to trade their strategy for them. Yeah. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So we just threw it up here on the stage. So yeah, we're.
Yeah, just a quick shill. Go to foxify.trade. You'll see, it's the fastest way to a 10K crypto funded account because it's instant funding. Check out the ecosystem as well. It is on Sonic. 94.8% of our token supply is locked. About 90% of that behind a 15% withdrawal fee. So a really, really tight ecosystem. Hundreds of OGs in our project. And obviously a fantastic, unique product to boot as well. Well, I opened a Sonic long actually on this account, and it's coming back. S is coming back a little bit. So you can see here. So this is actually the orderly system, and we've got lots of other integrations that we're working on as well. So this is actually Orderly's platform. We can only trade on Sonic. We're exclusive to the ecosystem, and you can see here that I've got a pro account. So if I go here, you can see. I can see if I wanted to start a new journey. Let's just go here. And I can either go in entry. If you've only got a really small amount of money, you can start with $100. You can still get to $10,000. It would just take longer, or potentially could take longer. And there's more levels to get there. The pro level, we are exploring an elite level, but we're very early because we only pushed this live in the last couple of weeks. And we are exploring an elite level where it'll be up to $20,000. At the moment, you can deposit $500 and you instantly get $2,500. And we're also implementing something called flash funding. And that'll be a way, a bit like you earlier, actually, where you said, I really had a hunch on ETH. Yeah. What you could do is just borrow funds from our vault, open a trade, maximize your profit, and you only just pay 10% back to the vault for borrowing those funds, actually, if you're successful.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's
so Flash is like.
Yeah. And you know that one, right? You know when there's been a huge dump, you wake up in the morning, everything's down 20%, crypto Twitter's full of it's over, and you're like, well, this is a buy time, right? When everyone agrees it's over, this is a long signal. Then you could just use flash funding, go big on one trade, maximize your profits, and then just carry on.
Right on. Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can 100x on the platform as well. So let's go back to, let's have a look. So you can see here that I've got the orderly trading platform. So I've got, hundreds of pairs, up to 100x leverage available. The market's about to pump, which is great news. And you can see here, this is just my window into what's going on with my challenge at the moment. It's very dynamic. There's no minimum trading time. So when I start, I have a couple of days on the clock. Every time I trade, it earns me more time. When I'm not trading, the time just ticks down. So it's very dynamic. There's no minimum time. If I build up, it's very easy actually to build up a week or 2 weeks worth of time on your challenge. Want to go on holiday for a week? No problem. Very flexible.
Yeah, I guess that was something I was going to point out too, was that, you get funded, let's say $10,000 or whatever, that's still pre-leverage.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So,
absolutely.
I mean,
if we wanted to go wild here, if we got a massive hunch, right? 20, I can open a $40,000 position if I wanted. That to 100.
It's a big thing to point out here because I was a little confused at first, but MVP asked this as well. How's flash funding different from high leverage trading? There you go. flash funding is you're just getting the funding and then you can leverage it up from there.
Yeah, you can still leverage it up after you get the funding.
Yeah, you can leverage on top of it basically, and you only pay. It's like a free loan really, but you only pay if you're successful. You only pay 10% of your profits if you're successful.
Okay, so it functions exactly like a typical flash loan, almost in a way. If you guys, I feel like I haven't heard anyone talk about flash loans in a long time, but like the idea being like you borrow money and settle everything in one transaction, so the profit is like guaranteed, right?
Yeah, that's why we call it
like
flash funding. Yeah, but it's obviously it's not super fast, but it's just you know you don't have to engage in a challenge. If I just think now's the time to go long, like you did earlier, you could have put. I think you can borrow up to 10,000. So, or you can maximize 10,000. So you could have put $2,000 in, open a position with $10,000, 100 exit. You could have opened $1 million position on the platform.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay,
really powerful.
Now we're getting into the real crazy cool. So that's wild. Okay, so
first super risky.
That's super risky though.
Super risky, guys. But you can see here, I only deposited $500 in this before the stream. But you can see I can open $185,000 position.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How are you guys managing the risk factor?
For us or for the trader?
Yeah, for the platform.
Yeah, for us, most of the risk is on the first level, and we manage that risk through drawdown. And like I say, there's algorithms and then a risk calculation. We consider, what are the probabilities of people moving through challenges. And actually, unlike a prop trading firm's biggest risk is how do I keep payouts down? That's their biggest concern. They don't care. They want people to lose because you're losing to them. So we manage the risk on the downside, and actually we have no concern. We would love it if we had all the best traders in the world on the platform because we would earn a share of the profits.
Right on. Now, Denny. Wait, what kind of orders does Orderly support? Sure needs stop loss. This guy's out.
It's a brilliant platform, to be honest. It's really, really professional. So you've got limit, stop market, stop limit, and you can scaling. They've just implemented trailing stop loss as well. You can do partial close, full close on orders. You take profit stop loss on setup. You can then change that afterwards as well. In terms of APIs, you can generate your own APIs if you want to run automated systems as well. So you can run automated systems on our funded platform. We actively encourage all of the things that prop firms don't want you to use, right? Because they don't want you to win.
So right on. Okay, so we got all the tools.
Yeah, so you got all the order types.
Yeah, let me just show you a dashboard, and this is how transparent it is. So if we go and have a look at my current journey dashboard, and it will show me. There we go. This is it. So this is my 2.5K account. I put 500 in. I've got a tiny bit of drawdown there, so I need to manage my drawdown and try and keep that sensible. And once I get to 100 points, which is a combination of activity and P&L, so we know it's not just a fluke, then bang, you instantly cash out, instantly get promoted. And we can see, so on the challenge leaderboard, you can see all of the challenges that are currently in profit. This doesn't show people that are in the red. So you can see there we've got 17 challenges at the moment currently in the green. This guy's on a march, actually. He's up $400, 85 points. Only 15 more points to go. And you can also name your own challenges, by the way. So you can put like a custom. So if you want to say on there, I don't know, Andre is a legend or whatever you want to put, you can put it on there, and it's totally visible. We've got nothing to hide, right? Because we want to see people be successful and give them every opportunity to make money.
Yeah, here's a question about liquidity. How is the liquidity on a Sonic pair? Can I enter with size with leverage?
Good question. Look, I think there's always less liquidity on smaller alts. Sonic will have less liquidity than say ETH or Bitcoin. And the sensible thing to do there is, the market maker will keep replacing the order if there's a price differential in the order book from what's available. So the answer is yes, there is liquidity, but if you want to go in at a big size, the sensible thing to do is just to keep that size small and keep picking off the order as they replace it, and that'll get you the most efficient entry. Or you could use limit orders as well, and then you get filled at whatever percentage is hit.
All right. I guess something else to look at. You had mentioned your actual token and your staking program and everything. I'm sure people would like to learn about that as well.
Yeah, it's a great shout. So let's go here actually. So Kitsune is our copy trading bot. We're plugging in a new strategy, and we'll be looking to add strategies that can trade your funded challenge for you as well. So let me go here, and you can see actually. So there's the Fox price. I think we were about 20 cents actually when we moved over to the Sonic ecosystem back in April. I think, not to shield, because I think we're probably one of the best performing tokens on the Sonic ecosystem actually, if you go and check out our price history this year. So we have 2 staking pools, and the way our protocol works is that 30% of all the protocol revenue that's generated is used to buy back the Fox token. The Fox token is deflationary. There's no minting of the token, and is also burned by this pool. So this pool gets a boost in rewards. As you can see, the APY is much higher. But this is a long-term staking pool. There's 15% withdrawal fee. But when you do pay that withdrawal fee, you pay it to everybody that stays in. So if you come and join our ecosystem and say, look, I want to buy 20,000 Fox, and you go big, good thing is if the price goes up 5x and or a lot of people start leaving the pool, then they're paying you a fee to leave the pool. So that's why we've got nearly 95% of the token locked, because it's mostly long-term holders of the token rather than short-term speculation, which gives it really solid price action as well.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you can see, look, this is like, honestly, I've been in crypto since 2022 as a founder, and I've never seen this. Look, nearly 95% of our supply is locked. 90% of that is behind a 15% withdrawal fee. Our market cap today is about 3.5 million FDV, and that's deflationary as well. We're burning. Those pools are also burning tokens every day.
Man, yeah, that's a great pitch right there.
Great presentation.
Yeah,
well,
I'm hyped, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was there anything else you wanted to shout out on today, Danny?
No, look, we want great traders, or we want people that would, if you're happy to speculate, there's always risk in trading. Then we're plugging in tools which will allow you to trade challenges autonomously as well. And it's a great community. It's like, most of our OGs are the guys that have been with us since 2022. And yeah, I'd recommend just coming along and get yourself on a funded challenge. All you got to do is move up one level. One shield, big shield. We're doing $5,000 bonus on the first 10 platinum cash outs on Pro, by the way.
Oh, all right.
If you fancy yourself as a bit of a pro, you will cash out a minimum $5,000 for getting there, and we're going to give you an extra $5,000 for the first 10 traders that achieve that.
Man, right on, man. This is impressive stuff. And, Sonic has like a great use case for, perpetuals and everything else. So yeah, definitely going to go get a funded account, see what I can do with some size here. But man, really great presentation. Seems like a lot of people are fired up about it. We appreciate you coming on, and definitely keep us updated. We'll definitely bring you back on here as you guys, have some new stuff going on.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. You too. Man, I'm pretty hyped on that, honestly.
Yeah, so we all agree. No one buy any Fox for another 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, don't front run Corval here.
Yeah, it's not fair. I come here like Prometheus. I give you the knowledge, and you guys are gonna front run me.
Yeah, you're gonna front run this man while he's working and giving you knowledge.
Yeah,
I have a question, quick questions regarding the Flash thing. Was that common back in the days?
So I guess what I might have been confusing with what I was saying. So Flash loans were fairly common. I don't think common in the sense that most people use them, but imagine you see an opportunity on chain and you can sell it in one block, right? So there's an arbitrage opportunity, but you need size. I think people still offer it. You could get a Flash loan. You gotta be pretty smart to do this, because I think it has to be smart contract. There's usually not most. So what you do, Mew Mew, is you take a huge loan, and it's got zero risk for the person because it's all being settled in one block, right? So usually it's a very small fee, and then you complete your transaction and then repay the loan all in one transaction, one block.
That's why it's spots, because it's all automated.
Yeah, it has to be automated because it has to be very fast. But also, they're really notorious for lots and lots and lots and lots of exploits using flash loans because it allows someone to do an exploit that would be economically infeasible.
Yeah. Like most of the time, like, you know, like when you hear about like these Oracle exploits, it's usually like a flash loan because somebody has found that like few seconds opportunity to, you know, buy it cheaper and sell it for more or, you know, whatever. So yeah, it was definitely a lot more prevalent before we had a ton of reliable oracles, you know. So like last run, you know, it was like even something like Chainlink, you know, had like its moments where something happened, or there's also like responsibility on the projects sometimes to keep their oracle updated. So like, you know, somebody's thing would fail that was supposed to update their oracle. And then, yeah, next thing you know, it takes, you know, a few minutes and an entire pool's liquidity is drained, you know, and a lot of small protocols really, you know, you'd see them pretty much go under just from one of these attacks. Because I mean, and it's like, and it's almost like, what can you even do? It's like, it's not really a hack, you know? So,
well, to me, like, it's kind of interesting because it's like, there's a guy that I think it might have been Fallout Zone recommends it. It's like Confessions of an Economic Hitman. But like, there's this concept of like using money. I mean, like aggressively using money, right? Like a hostile takeover, right? Like I'm using my money to take something from you. It's like fascinating. Like that's what like a flash loan is. Like I'm taking your pot, but like I'm doing it in kind of a fucked up way where you're not getting anything. Like,
you can't do anything about it either. Well, man, you know, speaking of bots, we could pivot here to AI.
Yeah.
This man is not a bot. He's a genius.
Hello. We summon you here.
Hey, how's it going?
Buddy.
Thanks, Drac. Thanks for that intro.
Yeah, I had to gas it up, but I'm glad to see you have internet. Apparently, you know, with the Red Sea cable dilemma.
Yeah, I actually left the country to get internet.
Dude, this guy left the country to get an internet connection. That's real shit.
What happened?
Yeah.
Why that broke down?
I think someone cut the Red Sea cable, right?
Yeah.
And then that caused a bunch of issues in my region. And then it was like you could access the internet, but a lot of services you couldn't access, or it would just be really, really slow. Like Google, for example, Google's services, I couldn't access like the vast majority of them for a very long time. And then when you went through like a VPN or something, like it would work. Sometimes it would be pretty unreliable. And it's just like, yeah, it just threw a huge wrench in somebody who's like terminally online's workflows. So,
yeah, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
He's going to delay spawn at all, dude? We got some dive.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I'm trying to catch up on some of the stuff that I was slowed down on for a few days. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it's mostly like optimizations that are left for spawn. Really, it's just like making sure that complex projects don't just like crash. I think some of you experienced, the people who've been using it internally have experienced basically just some issues with the fact that you have to use a lot of tokens to generate your apps. And then maybe we can talk about that a little bit more and the challenges. But yeah, it's going to be good at the end after everything's said and done. But it's definitely a process to build it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that people that aren't like super familiar with kind of more like vibe coding, people can learn very quickly that, you know, those tokens to, you know, have the AI doing this stuff where you can add up really quickly. But yeah, you know, I've gotten to play around with it a little bit. And I've had a couple conversations with people where, you know, people have been like, oh, like what's really the difference? You know, I already use Replit or Bolt or, you know, whatever. And it's like, I explained to them, I'm like, you know, what's impressive about it is that the model is trained, you know, towards building Web3 stuff. And I've even gone as far as, you know, my example I used was like reserve currency. I said, you know, hey, I want to make a reserve currency. I want this to be what's in the reserve. And the AI started talking to me about like, and was like, oh, well, yeah, like, do you want this for your fees? Do you want staking? Do you want this? So, I mean, that to me is the difference that Spawn's going to make is I've never seen anything like this in terms of how the model, interacts.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the sort of USP of Spawn is that if you think about like the normal systems that most people you will use to build apps like Lovable and these other sort of, there's a couple of new ones that I think, one that GitHub launched. There's a bunch of them out there now. What they do really well is they orchestrate Web 2 apps really well with sort of UI design and other things like that. Most of them are pure front-end builders with some sort of database plugin or something like that. What Spawn does differently is that, like you said, it's geared towards Web3, but it's not only that the model like knowledge is geared towards Web3, it's actually like the workflow orchestration and the framework is rooted in Web3. So what that means is you have, for Web3, for basically any protocol, you have a front end, which is the way you interact with your contracts. You have your contracts which live on the blockchain, and then you have, in some cases, an external database that you store stuff that you're not storing on the chain in. And the way to orchestrate all of that together is like you have to have the AI. It can't just be intelligent. It has to have the right tools and the framework around it to build proper apps. And if you were to try to build like a dApp using one of these other builders, it would do half the job, and then you would be stuck with like trying to wire up smart contracts, which one it wouldn't have written unless you get into more like sort of programmer focused tools like Cursor, etc. But you wouldn't have the smart contracts themselves. And then not only that, the UI, the way that Spawn is built is that the UI components are designed to automatically hook into the contracts as soon as the contracts are deployed, after the contracts are deployed. So there's also an order of operations that Spawn knows, which is that you have to deploy your contracts first, then you can inject the contract addresses that are on chain, etc., into your front end, and then you can use the APIs to sort of hook into the front end. But also, what if you deploy another version? Well, what happens is if you upgrade your contracts, as in if you deploy a fresh new set of contracts, upgradable contracts are a different thing. But if you deploy a fresh new set of contracts, the system also has to know how to orchestrate an upgrade of your front end to point to those new contracts and that kind of thing. So Spawn is taking care of a lot of these sort of things that you may not think about while you're building something on a Web 2 builder that are required for you to actually build a functioning dApp. So Spawn really does a full sort of app deployment pipeline and workflow for Web3 specifically, which the other builders cannot do because they're not geared towards Web3. And so that's really what it is. And it's just sort of meant to allow non-builders to start building without with as little headache as possible. There will still be you still have to have a seed phrase and a wallet to deploy. That might change soon as well with 2.1, but and Spawn can integrate those features as well. But it's sort of like it'll get easier and easier over time to build apps anywhere, and especially on chain. And Sonic, we really want to be the leaders in sort of on chain, abstracting away the complexity of building. So
yeah, and that's oh, sorry, go ahead, Corval.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask, so I feel like there was a lot of good information there. We're saying this tool is superior because it's trained on these Web3 processes. One thing I've always encountered is there's conflict between the back end and the front end, right? So it knows how to navigate that, how to connect the back end to the front end, how to build out both. So, and you're saying this is kind of like for anyone who's maybe not super technical, but it's still fairly technical, right? Are we talking maybe help hobbyists take their work to the next level? Maybe people that are scared of smart contracts but understand them on an abstract level to create them, or
so the target market question or target user question is a really good one, because if you have existing devs who are using Cursor, for example, why would they need something like this? Or is this targeted towards people who are completely non-technical, who have no idea how to build dApps at all? Or is it something in between? So the way that I envision it is, for example, I still use no-code website builders, even though I can build the website myself in Cursor or whatever. The reason is what they allow is really quick bootstrapping of like base designs, base UI, etc., which I can then take into GitHub, and then I can sort of connect it to my Cursor IDE, and I can start making changes alongside the basically the two serve different purposes. From a developer's perspective, the purpose that the builder serves is that it has the full context of everything. The smart contracts, the error logs, like basically everything that's happening on the front end and the back end, it has full context of, but it may be a little bit less powerful than my Cursor IDE. So for like quick surface level fixes and things that don't require really deep work, I can have the builder do that. And then I can take that code update through GitHub, take it into my IDE, my like Cursor editor, and then I can make changes to that and like do back and forth that way. So for a developer, it can be used as sort of a hybrid tool, because this will be connected and linked up through GitHub eventually, so that the repositories can stay persistent. But for a non-technical user who doesn't want to deal with the GitHub stuff, for example, or doesn't know how to, it still works because it does this stuff in the background, and you can either choose to use the repository that's populating GitHub, or you can choose to continue using just the tool that makes the updates in your sort of repo by itself without having to like take the code elsewhere. So as a user, you can use it just sort of without having too much technical knowledge, and as a developer, you can use it as a hybrid tool. But just to answer the question about who is the real target market, initially, I had the idea, the person I was thinking about when I was building this was Johan from Sonic, who is a really, really intelligent sort of DeFi expert, but he's not technical in that he doesn't program, but he has really interesting ideas that I feel could become really interesting protocols, and he just didn't know how to put those into place without an engineering team. And so that's what I was building Spawn for initially. That's the type of person, but it can be sort of used by different parties in different ways. And I want to make it extensible. I want to make it so that it's easy enough to use in different ways if you want to, but also you have to think about, like, when you're building a product, you have to build it for a specific market, because if you dilute the use case too much, then it becomes a jack of all trades, master of none, and it's not good for anybody. So it's a balancing act, I think, in terms of the way that you design the interface and who you're building it for.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I totally feel what you're saying here. You want to have, I mean, the classic business or sense that of the modern days, you have to isolate a market and conquer like a very small slice of the market, and then you broaden out. It's nice to see that you're thinking about adding on more as you kind of capture that market. I think that's a very astute observation. There are so many people in crypto. A lot of people like to dump on them that have a lot of ideas, but necessarily don't have the ability or technical know-how to pull them off, or the networks to do so, or the capital to do so. So I think this is a really cool tool. It kind of sounds like you use the metaphor of like website builders, or like comparison to website builders. So it sounds like kind of like it's almost like a not quite no code, but maybe a step closer to no code. Like I'm not using Wix necessarily, but maybe more like WordPress with like plugins. So still some technical knowledge needed, like how the internet works, but not necessarily.
That's a good way to describe. Like my grandparents probably couldn't use Spawn, so it's not meant for it's not meant for like completely non-technical audience. But I think that, like, yeah, if you have an idea, if you have some semblance of sort of like how a contract works, but you don't know how to actually write code, that might be like the perfect person to use this initially. Obviously, you have to have, like, there's layers of abstraction, right? Like, for example, if you think about computer code, you have really, really low level machine code, and then you have a layer of abstraction above it, like you have like the C family, and then you have Python, which is built on top of that, but it's abstracted away. It's more natural language. Then you have like layers and layers, and then you have now AI that abstracts all the way to natural language, but then builds downwards. But even in those abstraction layers, you still need to have some technical knowledge. Now that the meaning of technical becomes different at each layer, but you still need to know how to design something. Like, for example, with Spawn, you still need to tell it like what tokenomics you want. Do you want a certain number of tokens, or like if you're building a token, obviously, or you're building a protocol, like what does your sort of emission rate, what should your emission rate be? Now you can let Spawn decide these things. That's also fine, but and it just depends on the layer of abstraction you reach. And this is one of the challenges with a system like Spawn, is how much should Spawn be by default asking the user to clarify their intentions, and how much should it be assuming and just implementing from its own best judgment. And this is something that I've sort of gone back and forth with, because too many questions becomes way too tedious. It uses too many tokens, it becomes very annoying. And then too few questions can lead to an undesired outcome. So it's a little bit of a balancing act in the general case, and then it's really an exercise in just product design, iterating, and then like getting users feedback and like trying to figure out who's your power user, and then like just trying to cater to them. I think that's going to be the road forward for Spawn in the next weeks and months. But yeah, we've gotten a ton of like good feedback so far from some of our early testers. It still has a ways to go. I think that it's going to become, I think the UI is like super good, thanks to Dardan of our team, who's been a champ in that regard. But yeah, I think it's going to be really nice and really usable and really friendly when it's all said and done. But it's definitely a process at the moment.
And we have a couple questions, but that was something I did want to point out was, we were seeing like on the timeline, like a ton of people like, I signed up right when the thing went live. Like, how am I not in? And yeah, like right now we're in like a closed testing. When we move to the next phase, which is, I guess, open testing or whatever, that's where we will move. That's where like it will move to actually going down the wait list and all that stuff. So don't fret if you have not gotten an invite yet, because it's going to move to that phase eventually here.
Yeah.
But Gabby has a question here. He says, apologies if it's been asked, but for UI designers, can we make a front end on another platform like Figma and use Spawn to make the back end?
So the current setup is that you describe your app and then it builds everything from scratch, or sort of not from scratch. There is a template, but the what I plan to add and what's been requested is to add images. So basically, you're able to drop in an image and ask it to generate you a UI that matches the image or looks similar to the image. And the newer frontier models that we're using have become quite good at sort of interpreting images and then sort of rebuilding UI with the image in mind. And so that will be a feature, but it won't be like you can't directly import from Figma. Obviously, that can be built into at some point if the demand is high enough and it's worth the engineering effort. But the simplest way to do it would be, for example, to take a screenshot of your Figma mockup and then put that into Spawn and say, build me an app with this UI, and it'll also be able to derive and interpret features of your actual underlying contracts from the UI that you've built, and it'll sort of infer some of that stuff. So that'll be definitely something you can do. Yeah.
Awesome. And the second thing I'd seen come up a couple times was basically just, we got a couple guys arguing about some technical stuff in the comments, but they're arguing like basically like Yankee here says, you have these tokens you start out with, but is there any like cost associated, like, if you're trying to go like full bore on it, in terms of like the tokens and everything?
So one of the issues right now that we're facing early on, and we're trying to optimize for it, and that's sort of what I've been working on the most, is the token costs are quite, sorry, echoing a little bit. The token costs are quite high. So for example, we use Gemini at the moment as the primary model for Spawn, and it'll use hundreds of thousands of tokens to millions of tokens per build. What that turns out is, in terms of costs, like $5 to $10, maybe more per build, which is too much really for although it sounds sort of cheap for an app, a full-fledged app, but it doesn't need to be using that many tokens, and it's just a sort of an optimization exercise to reduce the token usage. But in terms of the way that like it works right now with the current state of Spawn, early access users are bringing their own Gemini API keys, they're inputting them, and then they're bearing the costs of the token usage. By tokens, I mean like the actual like the words, and not actually like crypto tokens. These are just words that are or like sort of segments of words that are being used in AI calls. And these are the cost is borne by the customer. You paid to Google for their Gemini usage. But in the future, we're building a much more seamless system where people won't have to bring their own API keys, and there might be some there'll be some hopefully some cost reductions there once that's released, and it'll be much easier for you to build and much cheaper, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's actually a lot of
Yeah,
questions.
a lot of questions.
Yeah, sorry, I had my mic off, but I was saying here's another one. He says this is the opposite of Gabby's question. What if I have a smart contract and I want to build a dApp for it?
So the input field, it's not capped right now. You could potentially put your whole smart contract in there and say, build me the front end with the smart contract.
Yeah.
But also you can edit the code directly through the basically the repo feature. So the way you could do this, if you were to use the functionality as it stands, is you would create a GitHub repo after Spawn has populated the project, or connect the GitHub repo that Spawn has populated to your code editor or whatever, and then you would put in the contracts into the sol files. You basically make a commit. Spawn would detect that commit on whatever branch, like main branch, for example, and then you could continue the conversation from that commit. It's similar if you've used Lovable in tandem with, for example, a code editor. It's Lovable or these other builders. You can do a back and forth like that. But that requires more technical knowledge. Obviously, you have to be using repos and that kind of thing. But I assume if you've already written contracts, then you have that knowledge and you'd be able to sort of juggle it that way. So I'm trying to make it extensible for devs that way. Yeah.
And I could see it working like that because, like I said, when I was testing out, building like a reserve currency, it was built, it created the contracts and then started hooking them up. But, there were things I was pulling in from other, whether it was like token CAs or, other like contracts on another protocol. It was having no trouble, looking at that contract, interacting with the function I'm talking about. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it still comes back to this would require a little bit, slightly above average technical knowledge. But yeah, I mean, I could, it interacts with contracts really well.
Yeah, and I think part of like the future of Spawn is to continually get more context aware when it comes to the Sonic chain. So as we are able to build better sort of awareness of what exists on Sonic, maybe there's like a routine scan that updates the AI's memory or sort of context for what's available out there. And then it can sort of automatically, when somebody describes their intent, automatically figure out, oh, this protocol has this function that we think we should plug into, and maybe it'll ask the user, do you want to plug into like Shadow, or do you want to plug into this, right? And because it has that context awareness. So these are things that will make it, again, much more differentiated from your run-of-the-mill builder, and also specific to Sonic and Web3. But also these are things that take time to build, because then you have to build sort of a context awareness system around the code generation system and these types of things, which is why I think Spawn has really, really interesting potential, but the opportunity cost is figuring out what to focus on right now in terms of features and functionality.
This is great. I saw in the comment sections that they're looking forward to have a live demo soon.
Yeah, definitely. You want me to spin it up now?
Hey, sure. Yeah, we could throw it up there on the screen.
Awesome. Share this. Okay. Cool. Let me know if you can see this.
There you go.
Nice. So yeah, this is the Spawn basic interface. Like this is what you're greeted with when you arrive at Spawn, other than you have to sign in. I'm already signed in. So basically, like the idea is, right, it's super simple. Like it's not supposed to be complicated to start. It's supposed to be easy to use, and it's supposed to be like you just type in your idea here and you can click Spawn it and it'll start building your idea. So the one we've been using sort of as a really simple explainer concept is make me a snake game. So, and I'll explain some of the interface stuff. And again, we have the token limit issues, so we probably won't go through a full build, but I'll explain how things work. And then obviously when you guys get your hands on it, hopefully very, very, very soon, you guys will be able to try some of these things out for yourself. So I'm going to click Spawn it. You can see now what happens is Spawn starts thinking, it creates a new project, and you'll see this is what we call, this is a container, basically. It's a containerized application. So you have like an iframe of a preview of a front end here. And it's going to basically use this as your base, and then it's going to start building for you and then update the front end as you build. So you can see it automatically names your project based on what your intent is. So it's just like Snakebite or whatever, and you can always change the name whenever you choose. And then you have a spec tab. So I'm gonna just really quickly explain what SDD is, or spec-driven development. Basically, it's a new sort of paradigm that's been proposed in the AI community, which is really to start with a spec, stay true to that spec, and then build your application to that spec. And the way that the spec, the reason for this is it acts as a North Star for the AI, because one of AI's major weaknesses, is long-term memory and memory across different conversation sessions. So if you have a spec that is used as a North Star, whenever an AI is like going off and trying to build something and it's unsure if it should go route A, route B, or route C, you can always refer back to the spec and make sure it's conforming to the spec when it's building. So that's the idea with the spec, but you don't actually have to write the spec. As you're answering the questions that Spawn is asking you, you will be able to, basically what it'll do is automatically populate the spec. So you can just view the spec here. You'll be able to make edits manually if you want to, but yeah, that's what this spec tab is for. And then the app tab you'll see is really this web container. So you can see here, this is like a URL of the web container that's spun up here. And if you look here, you can go to the editor. You can actually edit some of the code here. This is what I was talking about, where if you want to put in your own front-end code, your own sort of contract code, you can do that. Right now, it's not hooked up to a Git system, but once it is, you'll be able to do that through GitHub, through your own code editor, etc. So that's what this system is for. And then over here, you're able to talk to Spawn. So like, if you look, I just said make me a snake game. So this is very non-specific. But so what the AI needs is more information about this, so that it can actually build you what you want, what you intend to build. So it'll ask you some good, insightful questions like, what kind of features are you imagining? Should players be able to save their high scores on chain? Maybe earn a token for playing? Should it have any special mechanics? What's the main goal? Is it just to get the highest score? Should there be a leaderboard? Do you have a visual style in mind? So retro or something modern. So like, these are some basic questions that once you answer them, it'll be able to populate the spec properly. Or it'll ask you more follow-ups depending on what you answer. And then here, if you look here and I click on, if you look here, you can see the terminal right here. So this is actually running a full front end in your browser. Yeah. So that's sort of what Spawn is in a nutshell. This is the current state of the UI, and some of the early testers have been going through these build processes for us, giving us really detailed feedback. Actually, shout out to PaintSwap and their guys who've been really helping us debug some of the stuff that needs fixing. And Drac actually has been giving really good feedback when he's able to access the system. So thanks for that. And
yeah, of course,
this is going to be ready really soon for public access, and I'm really excited to have you guys try it out.
Yeah, and we'll definitely when it's live for public access, we'll we'll come on here and we'll toy around with like building some stuff for sure.
Yeah,
live building session was GM Sonic.
Yeah. Well, man, very exciting stuff. I know everybody's just been like really hyped about Spawn, and it's finally here pretty much. We're almost, it's almost there, ready for everybody. So yeah, amazing work on it though. I know you've like been working on it really hard for a long time. And
and actually we've gotten really good feedback on X, and I can see like a lot of people are talking in the chat, which is cool. People are excited about this. It's cool, like I really hope to bring delight to people and like build something that people like to use. So hopefully it works out.
Once the full waitlist started and everyone have access to it, like your DM is gonna be surged again with all the feedbacks.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, I love feedback. It's good because then I can make the product better. It feels good.
Hell yeah, dude. Real quick, I just want to address Alex's concern. He says X is full of AI slops. Hopefully deploying will cost at least something. Otherwise, we'll have a chain full of AI slop. It just fundamentally costs things to deploy them on blockchains, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. It will cost. It will cost, like if you're trying to start a proper business on this, for example, like you're gonna have to pay for stuff. You're not gonna be able to like just pump out like slop content is much easier than slop like engineering, I think.
Exactly. And I think people will learn that, that even vibe coding can be difficult. It's kind of it's an art form in itself. You have to learn how to, people won't just be able to it won't be like a factory in terms of, there's not gonna be like thousands of things production ready, every single hour or whatever. But I understand.
There's
I get
a lot
the
of
point,
security stuff I haven't talked about that we're working on in the background as well. Because that's going to be a big part of this. It's like auto-generated stuff is not going to necessarily be secure, and that's going to be a big problem for Web3 if that's the case. So we're working on some stuff in the background there, which I'll talk about maybe in a future episode.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on. We're well over time here, so we're probably going to stop here today. We had a bunch of stuff to actually talk about as well, so we'll have to get to that on Tuesday. But Seg, man, really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, and
thanks for having me. This is awesome. Yeah,
Very
you guys
excited.
you guys
I'm
have been
excited
with the show. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, man. See you later.
See ya. Thank you.
Yeah, can't wait for that, man. That's like I said, from what I've toyed around with, it's just really, it's really impressive. I mean, it's definitely not just another vibe coding platform or whatever. I think people are going to be impressed when they get their hands on it.
Exactly. And I felt like for today, this is a very, very packed, very, very deep learning curve session for sure. Like we see 2 great presentations, 2 great demos.
Yeah, lots of great stuff today. 2 great guests. So yeah, like I said, we'll pack in a good bit of content on Tuesday because we had a good bit of stuff to talk about. But hope everybody has an excellent weekend. Let's hope that alts continue to move up over the weekend, and we will see you guys Tuesday.
See ya.
GM Sonic is Corval and Dracula Presley. GM.